Alex Chemanov here at Movements for Life. Our next restoration is going to take us to the pecs, or the chest. So, chairborne, obviously, I'm not going to beat it to death, but with the push position that we're all in, when we drive, when we're playing around with our phones now, any computer work, when the arms are in front of the body, you are in a proverbial push. So what happens there is everything down in the front is going to shorten and give in, right? And everything's going to get gapped on the back. So some of the corrective strategies to help us be able to pull the scaps back, especially with some different pushing and pulling patterns, because even in a push, your shoulder blades still need to be able to retract together, right, to help load the pecs. The pecs need to be able to allow the scaps to be able to glide back on the rib cage. So any restrictions in the pec minor are going to help kind of throw that off, so we do need to restore that. So again, just like any other local stretch that we've done, prior to doing this specifically for the pecs, I want to be able to do some soft tissue work, make it a little bit more pliable before I start doing some type of, chest cranking at this point. So from here, I prefer a one-arm variation as opposed to two. Two does work really well, but the chances are if somebody's really restricted, they might get into a really dumped out anterior tilt position. So like any door jam stretch like that, we could remedy it by going into a split stance, which could help. But I prefer one, specifically with a lot of rotary type stuff and gait. So I'm just going to use a wall for video purposes. I would like to really be able to anchor the arm like on this side. So again, for video purposes, I'm just going to use the wall here. This isn't how you would do it. Ideally, have the corner of the wall so that it will help block the arm. So a couple different arm variations. If I start getting a little bit higher, so elbow higher than shoulder, I can really start kind of getting into still pec, but get a little bit more pec minor at this point. I can have a couple different heights, so elbow being at shoulder height, kind of neutral. I can also start dipping below slightly. So just think about the line of force is going to change slightly depending on that arm height. So for our purposes, I'm going to keep it the elbow in line with the shoulder. I'm going to have the same side leg in front. So this is ipsilateral, so left arm, left leg in front. As I start driving my pelvis towards the wall, and what should happen is we want to make sure that the whole scap and the whole humerus starts to glide back, getting a stretch into the pec on the left, as opposed to feeling all the compression and the pinching on the back. So if you're not getting any pec load here, then we need to investigate a little bit further in terms of why that's happening. Typically, if there's some structures in the back that are super hypertonic, then they're not going to allow this stretch to take place, so you'll feel it more in the rotator cuff, more in the back. You should feel the stretch in your pec here. Now the reason why I have the same side leg in front is with gait, as we walk, the opposite arm swings in front. So as I do that, what has to happen to my same side shoulder is, as an exaggeration here, we don't really walk like this, but this arm does need to be able to drive back, which is going to load the pec. We also see that in the golf swing, right? So as a righty golfer, as I drive back into my backswing, my right shoulder and scap should glide back, which is going to put a lot of load on the front of the shoulder, the pec, coming into the opposite side groin as I then go through and unload. So that is the reason why, if somebody's asking why we have same arm and leg in front as I start driving the pelvis. So all I'm doing is taking the pelvis and driving it towards the wall and forward. Cool thing with that is I'm automatically integrating this shoulder with this hip. So I got a nice front butt exercise at the same time. That wasn't by chance, guys. All right, so great way to start getting into the pecs. Do both sides at this point. I'll show you the right here just so you can see the back of the shoulder. So from here, we want that whole shoulder blade to glide back, getting a nice smooth pec load. We don't want to see the humeral head come forward here, right? We want to see all that be able to pull back, so we get a nice smooth load from the pec coming down to the groin, as in this case, as it ties in really well. So enjoy this one. This is a big one for us and for many of our clients who are definitely bound up. So I use the example with the golf swing for sure. Tennis, same concept, right? As that racket comes back, need to be able to get that nice smooth loading so that we could then go and follow through and not cause all those aches into the elbows and shoulders and such. So enjoy, have fun. Thanks again for watching, and any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.